What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to episode 95 of the Fortnite Mythbusters. Now today, I wasn't actually going to be posting a Mythbusters episode, but Fortnite yesterday decided adding a helicopter into the game was a good idea. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. The helicopters are actually a lot of fun, and it gave me a lot of content to make with it. So just like always, if you do have a myth you would like me to test in the next or future episodes of the Fortnite Mythbusters, make sure to go down in the comments and drop a comment of that myth for a pretty good chance to be featured. And at any moment, if you do enjoy today's episode, feel free to consider leaving a like. It helps me out so much. Let's aim for 15,000 likes on today's episode. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, I was looking at my analytics the other day and I noticed 85% of my viewers aren't subscribed to my channel. So I mean, if you guys enjoy my videos, feel free to subscribe. We're trying to grind for 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. Anyways, guys, without further ado, let's get right on into episode 95 of the Fortnite Mythbusters. Jumping straight into the first myth. The first myth is, can you carry a knocked person on a helicopter? This was actually a highly requested myth, and I thought it was a very good one because, I mean, not a lot of people are going to be flying the helicopters, and if they do see a helicopter in the middle of the fight, now they would know whether or not carrying their teammate to a helicopter would actually be a good or a bad idea. When I tried this myth out in game though, I was solo with my teammate who was knocked down, and I tried to fly the helicopter while carrying my teammate, but it would not allow me. It would only allow me to get on the side step of the helicopter while carrying my teammate, and then you would have to have a third person fly away in the helicopter for you. So unfortunately, if you are in a regular duos game and your teammate is knocked, going to the helicopter would not be a good idea. But if you do have a third teammate who is actually able to fly the helicopter, maybe picking up your teammate and getting in the back seat for a minute while they fly away from the entire fight might be a good idea for you to consider. Going into the next myth is, what happens if you or an enemy gets hit by a helicopter blade while it is on and spinning? Now, with these helicopters being in the game, they have no types of guns on them. I mean, we had the planes and they had the turret on the sides of it where you could actually shoot and destroy other planes in the air, builds, players, whoever are on the ground. So with the helicopter, the only way you could deal damage to enemies is actually by hitting them with the blade or the helicopter itself. When you hit an enemy like a henchman or even an enemy player, it will do 50 damage per blade hit on them. I mean, you would have to hit them, then back off for a minute, then come back at them. And if you do hit them while they're standing on the ground with the helicopter itself, it could do anywhere from like 0 to, I've seen like 70 damage, and you could even knock them pretty far and maybe even kill them from height. Now, if it's your teammate though, it will not do any damage to them. If anything, the player will go straight through the blades, or it'll kind of bounce them up, which makes for some really cool trick shots that I've seen all over Twitter yesterday and even today. Going into the next myth is, what happens when you take a helicopter to the Grotto air vents or even the Steamy Stacks power plant, because you know how the air kind of pushes up there. So I remember specifically in season 9 or season 10 was it, but anyways, I basically flew a plane into the volcano at the top left corner of the old map, and surprisingly, the volcano had no effect on the plane. I mean, the wind was not pushing it back up, so I assume something will be similar with the helicopter at the Grotto or even the power plant. And when I tried this out, surprisingly, that actually was the case. I was actually able to go down to the bottom of the air vent as well as the power plant, literally get out of the helicopter, and it'll just chill. It'll stay there. And the cool thing about this, it's not like loot. So if you're gliding, you're actually able to get into the helicopter, whereas if it was loot on the ground, you're not able to pick it up unless you aren't gliding. Going into another myth, and a myth honestly I doubt you would use in game. This myth is, are you able to glide through the seating area of the helicopter? I decided to try this myth out anyways because a whole ton of people were actually suggesting it and upvoting in the comments. So anyways, when I tried this out, it was in the middle of the Grotto little air vent things, because I was actually able to get the helicopter to chill down on the ground, and it gave me an opportunity to glide through the seating area, the middle of the helicopter, without actually having to risk, you know, dying to the ground. Anyways, with the explanation to the side, whenever I try this out in game, it seems like there's an invisible barrier that would not allow you to go through the helicopter. I mean, you could try and glide all up against it, it will not let you through no matter what. There was no sense of it actually letting you go through, which totally makes sense. I mean, you could try and jump onto the side of the helicopter while it's even on the ground, and it's the exact same as a bow, a quad crasher, whatever. It kind of just glitches your player off of it. So the only really way to go in there is to be sitting on the helicopter, but still, you can't even go in there. So it's basically impossible. It's just kind of for, I guess, looks. Going into the next myth, and another highly requested myth. This myth is, can you fly to the spawn island while in a helicopter? Now, we tried this myth out with the boats when Fortnite Chapter 2 actually came along, and unfortunately, with the boats, you would get pushed around and automatically brought back to the island. It would not allow you to go past a certain barrier, and that was the exact same thing that happened with the helicopters. But here's the thing, it only happened in the helicopter when I was in a public match or like, you know, a regular game. But as soon as I went into Battle Labs, which is kind of like the playground version of Fortnite, you are actually able to fly past that invisible barrier, and it puts you in this weird first-person mode for just a couple of seconds until you actually get to that spawn island. On the spawn island, you are actually able to destroy all of the objects there like a regular game, as if you were spawned and waiting for the battle bus to launch. You are also able to pick up weapons and shoot it, and the funny thing is when, say you get on your friend's helicopter and they actually fly back to the main island and you go through that weird barrier where it puts you in that first-person mode, it also does the exact same thing while you're in the backseat, but this time, usually whenever you're on the side of the helicopter and you look, the helicopter will go invisible for a second. That way you keep your full FOV. It just kind of shows that oval the entire time. Going into the next myth is it possible to jump out of a helicopter and land in another helicopter before you hit the ground? Will the game even allow you to jump into a helicopter while it's physically flying? This was a pretty simple myth. I actually tested this one out with my friend's helicopter. I jumped out of mine and I was right above his, not too far above, and I spammed my E button, which is a button to get into the helicopter, and surprisingly, it actually put me into the helicopter. I don't know if the blades, like, if I got lucky and I just didn't touch the blades and it didn't bounce me off, or if it's just one of those chances where you go directly through it. But I assume if this is an enemy's helicopter, it'll do 50 damage to you and you'll get pushed away. Either way, something to know is that you are actually able to get into a helicopter in mid-air. So if you ever do want to pull off something cool, like a really cool play, it definitely is possible. Going into the next myth is, what happens when you use a grappler while you're riding in a helicopter? Will it pull the helicopter around, or will it have no effect? Now, in a boat and any other vehicle, you are actually able to use a grappler to pull you and the vehicle around, and sometimes it's more efficient than actually just driving the vehicle. Just like a grappler in a boat while on land, it's way better than just driving the boat on land. I mean, you could go really fast. In the helicopter, I wouldn't really say it's that much more efficient, but you are able to use a grappler while you're in the helicopter, and it will yank the helicopter back, not too far, just a little bit. You are able to maybe pull the helicopter down, up, whatever you grapple it to, it will pull the helicopter. This was also another myth, kind of with you using a grappler to grapple up to a helicopter, but I'm just going to keep it included in this one. We kind of had a little bit of fun. I was using the grappler while I was beneath the helicopter, and I was actually pulling myself up literally all the way up to the build height. I was pulling myself up to the helicopter while my friend was also pulling the helicopter up. He was raising in altitude, and eventually we got all the way up to almost the max build height, and I was able to just then get into the helicopter and go down no problem. Going into another myth, this myth is, what happens when a supply drop lands on top of you while you're in a helicopter? Now, it's always been a dream since a plane's, any vehicle mobility that has been in the game, for a supply drop to actually land on top of you and for you to able to literally fly away with it. I mean, that would literally be the coolest thing ever. There's a whole team waiting on the ground for their supply drop, and you just fly away with it before it even hits the ground. That would be pretty cool. But unfortunately, after multiple tries, whenever a supply drop does land literally right on top of your helicopter, it will push the helicopter out of the way, and the supply drop, it will still keep going straight down. No matter what, the supply drop will always go literally directly through the helicopter. But something good to note is, say you're in a helicopter and your team is down on the ground, or you just want to get the supply drop before anybody else. If the blades of the helicopter do hit the balloon of the supply drop, it'll break just about instantly. I mean, obviously it still does 50 damage per hit, but I mean, in a solo game, it's 250 health on the hot air balloon, as well as like 250, I think, in duos, and like 500. So you literally could break the supply drops out very quick with a helicopter. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for today's episode. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. Make sure to drop a comment of that myth if you do have a myth. I know you were thinking of a myth, so if you do have a myth, make sure to drop it down in the comments down below. And if you haven't already, make sure to go drop me a follow on Instagram as well as Twitter. I'm very active on both of those. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.